going to have a new theme for a little bit. Likely a series of videos mentioning the same thing. You think so? Are you sure? Hello. And you too, princess. Hello. Where does your consciousness reside? That is the theme. I had to remember what I was articulating. It's a ritual. Where does your consciousness reside? It doesn't reside in your eyes or any of your senses in particular. Your senses allow a sense, literally, of where yourself is in relation to the environment. But where does your consciousness reside? The reason this will be a theme is that what is happening through media manipulation and appeals to emotion and what I can only describe as doctored proof of events happening. When most of us are thinking about something that we have perused or gotten from the internet, we're looking at this device that I'm gesturing at, your device that you're holding. And mostly it's visual. Sometimes it's auditory as well. And there's food memory and scent memory. But your audio visual is usually something to do with media. The medium being a device of conveyance, of portable audio-visual stimulation, also referred to as a device. So when you are thinking about something that is said to be occurring, an event, you are referring to your memory of the knowledge and the means by which you acquired the knowledge, which in memory doubles back to save time and effort to just go to the knowledge, but you must remember the means by which the knowledge was acquired. Therefore, when you are thinking about certain events happening, and if in these certain events happening, you've got the idea in some at least abstract form of, for example, great suffering, destruction, devastation, invasion, whatever, that what you are hearkening to in the little mini daydream of recall is visually going to be what was presented to you remotely on a device by someone with an agenda, most likely. And this could be true for literally any event in the world. Some events you can learn to figure out pretty quickly or easily whether or not they're real. And especially because certain real ones are just obviously real, and other things that seem real, but then you watch for a while, or you listen, or you however you gain your info, and you're like, this doesn't all add up. That usually involves multiple sources claiming a same thing versus an individual presenting an instance of whatever. This could be said to be an on-the-ground person who is a real person. There are also fake on-the-ground people, but there will be groups in large numbers who are presenting a particular narrative when this happens, and they do not match or are obviously contrived or faked. A staged set. The uncanny valley of the human mind will notice. That will be a thing. Some people don't notice because they don't know what they're looking at. They are zoned out, their phone resolution may be whatever. Their mind does not take into account things like this is a video game being shown, an older generation video game, mind you. And just going with it, having visual memory of these events. Well, no, but there was a thing. So even if some people can be shown that this is not the case, they're possibly going to have a tendency to revert back to a previous set of information because it's like a comfort zone of sorts for cognitive process, like falling into a habit. But when it's disinformation, manipulation, propaganda of any sort, it is possible to alter or affect that memory, how you consider that thought. Yes, I remember having that thought. Yes, I remember the feeling. And now I understand the context. In life, there are many situations where, in retrospect, you are able to put things in context. You should also be able to put those things in context so that you can say, okay, well, what I'm supposed to believe is. And that can be very multifaceted, and I do not recommend attempting to generate a memory recall mini daydream version of the entirety of it because it's overwhelming and you'll just get lost. Rather, have a single aspect of the organization of your short term memory contain a little context reminder for yourself, not constructed by anyone other than yourself. I'm simply advising the existence of, and that you find a way to store that in context so that you have a healthy skepticism without having to be specific all the time, but you can. But this saves time overall cognitively by doing this in short term memory. In a way, it's like unlearning trust and learning trust again in everything without losing specific individual instances of trust that you have already established with people, not with abstract concepts, thoughts, or movements, narratives, but with individual people. Those are what are real. And especially real are the ones that are ones you've had in person because I mean, FaceTime is one thing, phone calls maybe, but catfishing is a thing. Online, there are fake identities everywhere. You cannot assume that the person you're talking to is whatever your mind or the little avatar image or whatever is presenting to make you think it's whoever. There are so many sharks in the water. So a healthy skepticism, a willingness to accept at any time that something may be a ruse, a hoax, some bullshit, somehow not real. Not that reality isn't real, but that you can just be like, oh, so everything's a lie here. All right. And have that for what you're supposed to be thinking is going on in the world that is outside the realm of what you immediately perceive. And I'm not talking about the device in your perception. That's an anomaly to that. Accepting that everything in your individual personal space that you do and can interact with being what is real. Everything else outside and beyond that because of the filtration of skepticism may or may not be happening the way it's being somehow sold to you. That there is an oncoming current of whatever this is that you're supposed to be paying attention to. The healthy skepticism of that is to say, okay, hold up, how much of that is real? And other people being affected by that means other people will have to work on that too. does your consciousness reside? I believe it may be something more like within the entire body as well as within the mind, although it's often referred to as the central nervous system because that accompanies everything and is the limit of sensation of your physical being. The skepticism remaining there for which suggesting it's possible that any and all experience, my toe touching this table tray, the hat on my head, the phone I feel like I'm speaking to, could all be utterly unreal and merely an illusion, some sort of apparition, hallucination, and that existence itself is a sham. If I do not trust my own senses. If I do trust my senses, then there's a table here, my toe is touching it, my foot is on the floor. This hat is on my head because I put it there, because I remember putting it there, unless that's a hallucination. But your consciousness is not just your body, because your consciousness includes things you think about, which includes things that are not in your immediate vicinity at all times. So where does your consciousness reside? This, I believe, will be a continuing theme.